Welcome to the Backcourt, episode 14. It is a huge show coming up. We're talking all things social netball rules, rogue injuries, and big money contracts. But first things first, we need to address the elephant in the room, our new substitute host, Producer Liv. Producer Liv, we've heard from you on multiple episodes, but we finally get to put a face to the name. An exciting time for the Backcourt.
Hello, yes. All of a sudden I am in front of the glass instead of behind it. I like to think of it as a temporary replacement player contract. But we'll see how we go.
And obviously careers can blossom from there, Liv. So who knows where this could end up for you.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's an exciting time to have you though. As we mentioned, of course, Liv's been behind the glass in every episode. Hannah's, as we know, over in the Caribbean, chasing her netball dreams, playing for the Manchester Spurs. I don't think she's played a game as of yet. She's been sending us plenty of photos from the Netball Jamaica house, so we will be putting that on social media soon.
The benefit of being on a temporary replacement contract is that I can say whatever I want.
Yeah,
because in 7 weeks' time, old HK
exactly.
is out of here and I get to hide behind the glass again. So.
Exactly. You've got no strings attached at the moment. Of course, before we start, remember to rate and review the podcast wherever you can, wherever you listen, whether it be YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever it is. Review us, leave a comment, and of course, 5 stars is the preferred rating. But of course, if you've got any feedback, we're happy to hear it.
Oh, we love feedback.
We do love feedback. And of course, you've got the DMs on Instagram and TikTok and backcourtdms@gmail.com. Liv, we're going to give you a free rein at the start, to be honest. You've been sitting, as you said, behind the glass, making some editorial decisions, and finally you've been given the host chair, the sub-host chair, and you're going to come out firing to talk about a few grievances you've got with social netball leagues.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a cry for help.
Right.
I think I personally have been getting so frustrated with some of the silly little petty rules that have been implemented at social netball leagues.
Right.
I think you've also heard a few. We've had a few in the DMs.
Right. We're going to find some examples.
Started, and then I'll tell you, we had a point deducted from our score last week for something that I don't think you'll ever guess.
Right. So that's a very, very good teaser. So some examples of some silly, silly rules we've noted in social netball and just sort of on the fringes of the game. So nail check. Still ridiculous. I know back in junior footy you had to get your boots checked. That's been done with. The nail check continues, especially on a Wednesday night. No good for mine. Jewelry. So I believe you, back in the day you were allowed to tape over them, but I believe now you have to take them out completely. If I'm wrong, I apologise, but still, let's move on with things. Singlets and muscle tees aren't allowed because they're dangerous, fingers getting caught.
Yes, crazy. But you put a bib on top and then your fingers get stuck in those.
But bibs are fine. Bibs are fine.
It's just so backwards.
Some comps, as we alluded to a couple of weeks ago, not allowing certain hairstyles. That's both Saturday and mixed netball. But Sunday Ariang is allowed to roll her beautiful hair around on the weekend and whip people in the eye. I say if you've got a weapon, use it. And, of course, there was actually our producer X.
Yeah.
We've got a new producer who refuses to be named. They bought a SSN match ball as the ball to use for their social netball, and the umpires turned it away because it had too much grip. Too much.
And then they had to play with a waterlogged netball.
Which is crazy. Imagine being, Wednesday 9:30 p.m. game, it's 2 degrees and you've got to catch a waterlogged netball. No, thank you.
Yeah, I just think it's a bit ridiculous because these social leagues are run by these small companies and you rock up.
Capitalism.
You pay your money and then they're going to tell you that you can't play for these silly little reasons. Sorry, what happened to us last week, Wednesday, was we had a point taken off our score because we all wear black. One of the girls was wearing a black Nike T-shirt that had tiny little white squiggly lines on it. And so we had a point taken off.
Now, are we talking pen thick, pencil thick, texter thick?
I think about pinpoint, but like pen thick maybe?
Yeah, pen thick.
I just think that it's ridiculous.
It's not catching your eye when you're rushing down the court.
Yeah, and we lost and I'm not a good loser.
No.
So I'm probably looking for a reason to have a rant.
A
but
blame.
I just think it's really silly that we're so lucky that netball is a sport that's embraced by so many people in their 20s and 30s as something fun to do on a Wednesday night or whichever night people play. Like netball owns that, which is so great. But then we're just going to be turning people or putting people off and making them frustrated because of these silly little rules.
These barriers. We're creating barriers for the sport.
It makes me really angry. I think that in a world that's moving away from registered sport and towards more like pay-to-play formats of sport, we need to be making it easy for people to come and play and come and join in. Otherwise, people are going to go and...
They won't play.
No. We'll go for a run. There are so many other things that we could do. We'll
have nothing to talk about. Well, we'd probably have other things to talk about, but it wouldn't be netball related.
Exactly.
So let's go back to the actual scenario. So you guys are waiting to play. You're warming up. And the umpire, how do they go about it?
There's no warm-up.
You weren't warming up.
Netball.
You're standing around waiting to play. You're debating who's going to play where. What are you going to do afterwards? And the umpire approaches you
Oh,
the
yeah.
team?
She does as they do the nail check
check.
and they're checking that you've got the right jewelry and all this stuff. They say, yep, your shirt. Do you have another shirt?
Yeah. And she says no.
She must have said no. And then it wasn't until quarter time that she was like, yeah, guys, like.
So they
we've
didn't
had a
even
point.
tell you at the start of the game.
Well, they must have told her. And then at
Yeah.
halftime, they came over to us and they're like, just so that you know, you've had a point. And I was like, yeah, you already did that at halftime. Like, it felt like she was then telling us again that another point had been deducted.
Power
They were
trip.
really
Power
like,
trip.
massive power trip.
Mm.
And it's like, just
Get over yourself.
get over yourself. And then I took a clean intercept. And
Yeah, nice. Here we go.
It was,
this is what we like.
now I'm getting really below the belt. But then I took a clean intercept, which they called as a contact. At halftime, they come over and ask, oh, like, you know, have you got any questions? And I said, yeah, like, what was the go with that contact?
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, it was just from the vantage point that I was at. That was from what I could see.
Vantage
Which
point.
I just don't think is fair that if you're going to hold us to a standard where we need to be doing silly little things like that and obeying your rules, then you better be able to tell me why my intercept was a contact.
Obeying your rules, there you have it,
Yep.
straight off the bat.
I know.
Producer Liv, she's taking speaking of power trips, in the chair there. I like it. I can't believe you started in mixed netball on a Wednesday night. You've started a goal down because of someone was wearing a black top with some white lines on it.
Yeah, and it was against a team that we've beaten before. And then after that, we went to pub trivia at the Royston, great pub trivia. And we only went because we had an $80 voucher because we won last time. Lost that too. So it was just a whole night of, yeah, it was just
bad
a night
to worse.
of losing.
No intercept, lost netball, lost trivia. I'm sure you had a good meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just tasted like losing.
Well, and nothing tastes worse than defeat. Staying in social netball, we're going to move over to Perth. There's a competition called Lords. I've never been to Perth. Have you been to Perth?
Not really.
No, exactly. So we're not aficionados in Perth-based stuff. But they're doing a Super Goal week. So pretty much they're playing Fast 5 rules, but with 7 players on the court. And there's a little Instagram video on their Facebook. And the man there, I can't remember his name, but he takes the shot. He does the little take to camera, steps outside the circle and nails the shot. And I just wanted to say two things. A, I think other leagues already do this. But B, how many takes do you reckon it took him to obviously complete his piece to camera and then nail the shot? Because if he's done that first time, that's incredible.
Yeah, it has to have taken a few. I did see that clip.
Yeah.
Surely he spent an hour practicing.
Because they don't do the cut, because obviously they could have just done the really corny, like cut, obviously fake shot sort of stuff. So I'm impressed with their ability to do that.
Yeah. I think they must have been listening to the backcourt though, because we have been suggesting that the super shot needs to.
Well, we want it all the time.
We do.
But so this one is Fast 5 rules. You've said that you've got a cousin that plays in a summer season that run these sort of anyone can shoot rules.
There must be a few leagues that do it, but my cousin plays at the Bayside and District Netball Association, and in their summer season they have a super shot.
Yeah.
But I just think it's time.
You reckon?
Once again,
would you bring it in?
Lighten up.
Yeah.
Last night I went and watched a couple of friends, my housemate and a colleague were playing in a game at Parkville, and they lost by 1. And it came down to like, it was a buzzer beater almost. And it was just one of those moments where I was like, if the super shot was in this game, it would be a game changer.
It's one of those things too when you're talking about social netball. I'm not talking your Saturday afternoon down at Mount Eliza that you should be draining 3-pointers, but social netball, it's not that deep. If you want to let a centre and a wing attack put up some 3-pointers with 1 second to go, 2 down, imagine the pandemonium if it goes in.
Yeah. The boys I play with are forever trying to do trick shots, like falling out of the court, doing like a backwards over the post sort of vibe. So maybe there should be a bonus point for trick shots as well.
And then like could the wing defence be allowed to shoot? Yeah.
The wing defence would have to be shooting from the centre third.
Make it a 4-pointer. You can get it from there. Because it's all risk-reward, isn't it? If you want to take 4-point shots, you're probably not going to get them in. But wing defences need some love. Let them take a couple of shots. You're a wing defence, Liv. You've been dreaming of scoring a goal. What would your celebration be if you've hit a 4-pointer?
Oh, I don't know. Let me come back to you on that.
Now, Liv, we both love our Thursday night football. It's great to crash out. Of course, there's still one day of work, unfortunately, left for us. But you can crash down on the couch, rot out, whether it's with a glass of red, it might be a beer, it might be a warm pot of pasta, and you watch the Thursday night footy.
Oh, yeah.
St Kilda and Dogs, not exactly the greatest game of football, was on Thursday night, but I guess the number one story coming out of the game was the coin toss guy did his hamstring. Now, have you seen it?
I have seen it. It seems to have gone viral.
It has gone quite viral. So Nick Harrison's his name. He pulled his hamstring tossing the coin, and he made a joke, I've missed the next 6 to 7 tosses, and there's a photo with some bruising down his hand. We're talking proper tear, like not a strain.
Have you seen that the bloke's been like on a media tour since? He has been interviewed by every media outlet.
3AW, 7, Mitch Cleary's pulling gags about it. I've watched the video back because a couple of people have said that there's a conspiracy theory out there that it's a PR stunt. Now, I'm not entirely sure who the PR stunt is for, but I watched the video back and he steps onto his left foot to toss the coin and tears his right hamstring. That doesn't add up to me, Liv.
It doesn't make sense.
Have you torn your hamstring before?
I can't say that I have.
No, neither. So I can't really comment on this with but I would have thought the left hamstring would be the one to go there.
Yeah, no idea.
No idea.
I can't say that I'm an expert in the space, but I can say if we're talking about conspiracies,
I love
I'll take us on this tangent.
Go on.
I've just done a little quick Google. Nick Harrison is the dealer principal at Lakeside Kia.
Right.
And I've been getting TikToks of the good people at Lakeside Kia
you
who work
drive
in
a Kia, don't you?
I do.
That's Kia Stonic.
We love the Ston.
Yeah.
The people at Lakeside Kia have been like doing interviews with him on their socials, like trying
about
to get
the hamstring
traction for the Kia.
Right. I think it's a long bow. And if that's part of their marketing ploy, good for them.
Yeah, but like if you were in the consideration phase looking at possibly buying a Kia, wouldn't you now just be like, oh, well, go
look, I don't know personally if it comes across my desk as into, I'm going to buy a Kia because old mate tore his hamstring. But again, maybe that's what the stage we're at as a society, that you need to have some sort of attachment to a car brand to buy it via that.
It's all just about attracting attention, right?
Well, is that why you bought the Stonic, or you'd already purchased the car, hadn't you? But it's gone up in value since.
Oh, the Ston?
Yeah, because of this hamstring.
Because of the street cred.
Yeah, exactly. Because of the street cred.
I actually put a little D's sticker on the number plate last week. Went up in value by about 10
Have you
grand.
had any comments on it?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Hence the need to bring it up on the podcast.
Yeah. So if anyone sees a Stonic with a D sticker, you know who it is.
Yeah.
But it got me thinking, what's the weirdest injury or most annoying injury you've ever had? How often have you been injured?
I actually was thinking about this earlier, and this is kind of an embarrassing one, but when I was in high school, I dove into a swimming pool and grazed my nose on the bottom of it.
It's an impressive. How shallow was the pool?
Oh, it was just like a classic swimming pool.
That's an incredible
like a home
dive.
Swimming pool.
You've done really well to get.
Well, I've obviously done the old
graze. So did you come up with blood?
Oh, don't think I had blood, but I had like a slight graze on the end of my nose for like a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
so embarrassing.
So personally, the only one is I tried to take a hanger on someone mucking around and jarred my knee on the landing and missed a couple of weeks. No, this wasn't playing footy. This was mucking around and landed on the thing. And then I've also had a couple of teammates, obviously rib and sides are prevalent in cricket. One of them sneezed and broke a rib.
That's like Michelle from Shameless.
Yeah.
She dislocated
our friends at Shameless. Yeah.
Everybody has a secret.
Yes.
That she dislocated her jaw a couple of times by yawning.
And
she's spoken on the podcast about how now she's like petrified.
How do you put it back in?
I think she had to go to the hospital.
There you go.
How wild.
And the other one is another friend. He was the captain at the time. He, went the extra mile, a bit like HK, always goes the extra mile.
Yeah.
If you're following HK's social, you would have seen some fitness stuff as well. But he went and got dry needling, and for some reason they were dry needling his side, and they accidentally punctured his lung. So I had to miss a couple of weeks there, couldn't breathe.
No good.
But we asked the listeners.
We did.
We asked the listeners to send in a couple, and you've got some here from Maeve, Lauren, and Asher.
Yeah, so Maeve, she broke her growth plate in her ankle.
So, do you know what a growth plate is? I don't.
I think there's like a plate in your ankle. I think it's something that matters more as a child.
Yeah.
And if you break it, it stops your like ankle from growing as quickly.
So does that mean Maeve's running around with these sort of child ankles?
I think she could end up with like one size 5 and one size 8.
Incredible. But go on. So she broke a growth plate.
So she broke a growth plate from walking and slipping off a jumping pillow.
Yeah, what's a jumping pillow?
That's like, at caravan parks, it's like a massive trampoline, but instead of jumping on it, it's like comes out of the ground. It's like a dome.
Yeah, it's on the edge of the trampoline. Gotcha. We do want to know, Maeve, how big are your ankles? Has one of them, has that ankle failed to grow? Yeah.
Lauren, she tore her hamstring at the insertion point when jumping away from a gecko. She was out for 6 weeks.
Well, that's a proper off-the-bone Matthew Lloyd style, torn the hamstring. How scared, geckos aren't big.
Oh, they're
geckos are sort of size of your palm.
Smaller than your palm, yeah.
Unless she meant a goanna.
Yeah.
I could understand a goanna. Goannas would petrify me. That's disappointing. That would have been a lot of pain.
I know. And then Asha broke her pinky finger in 3 places and dislocated her knuckle all in one go just from catching a ball.
Well, she's obviously a Steve Smith fan. Poor Stephen Smith, compound fracture during the World Test Championship trying to catch a cricket ball. Yeah. I'm sure it was probably coming a bit quicker than Asha's, but that's disappointing. 3 places.
I know.
And dislocated knuckle.
I think it would just be kind of funny being working in a really corporate job and having to rock up with some petty little injury. You got a social
Have you ever dislocated a finger or something like that?
No, but I've got a shoulder that pops out, that pops straight back in.
I think because My wife's the same. She's got a dodgy shoulder where I think it dislocated as a kid and they didn't put it back in properly.
Yeah.
And then it's just dodgy from there on. Maybe you've got the same thing.
Yeah.
Just pops in and out. But let us know again, weird injuries and whether you know more about the coin toss PR, conspiracy theory, and if you are now more inclined to buy a Kia.
And have you had to rock some sort of weird injury in a corporate?
Anything injury-wise.
And did you lie about it?
Yeah, good point. How do you come up with that? Like lying about a hickey or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, okay.
Well, it is. It's not quite the same, but it's in a similar area. Oh, we've got a note in here. Well, I've tried not to mention that I played football on the weekend.
Matt
I made my illustrious return.
About 20 times.
Yeah, the pre-production meeting was pretty much 20 minutes of me talking about my footy return. I double cramped in the third quarter, both calves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and couldn't stand up, so I had to be helped off the ground with cramp, but returned later. So, it was pretty embarrassing. But luckily in Division 6 VAFA, there's not that many people watching.
Was it a one-match agreement?
I'll see what happens.
Temporary replacement
player. See what happens. Yeah, maybe a sub.
Who knows?
Who knows? Just a pair of temporary replacement players in this studio.
Aren't we? And the Canterbury Cobras, the home of greatness.
Cobras. It is. And it was a Cobra off. Cobra v Cobra. We have to probably do a segment on team names. Before we get into our big segment on contracts and big money, just a corrections corner. Now, we've had allegations that in my little spiel last week about Tasmania, I mispronounced some town names and other places. Now, whilst I take full responsibility for that, I would like the people that have this feedback to be more honest and open in their feedback and let us know. I'm a big boy, like to tell me stuff that I've done wrong. More than happy to get into the DMs, as we mentioned at the top of the show, Instagram, TikTok, and backcourtdms@gmail.com. But Liv, this is a segment close to your heart. We're going to talk, I know it's a netball podcast, but we're going to talk about Keziah Pickett's monster contract.
Yes, it is a netball podcast, but stay with us because we'll bring it back. Go D's. If you're going to give me a microphone, then it was only a matter of time until we were going to talk about the D's. And of course, last week, the biggest AFL contract in the history of time, Keziah Pickett signed a 9-year contract extension, taking him to 2034 with the D's. Personally, this is obviously so exciting to see a star of the game and such a young talent be signed with the Melbourne Football Club for life. But there's also an element that makes me really nervous.
Right.
I think he is signed until he is 33 years old.
Yes.
Which puts him at 24 currently.
24. That's good maths, Liv.
Yeah, good maths. Puts him at 24. Like, what were you doing at 24?
Me?
Would you have signed a life?
I don't know if we want to. For $12.5 million, I probably would have thought about a 9-year deal. At 24, what was I doing at 24? It wasn't earning that much money. Oh, I don't know. I don't think it's for the podcast.
The point that I'm trying to make is I think that it's a massive decision at that age, and he's clearly been talking to other clubs for the last few months. It makes me really nervous that these players just are signing these massive agreements, and I would have thought we've learned something from the Brodie Grundy contract.
Yeah, well, sport is a business, Liv, and I've just thought before we have some more conversations around what was discussed and what was drunk over the signing of the deal, just some examples from around the world, because obviously in Australia this is the biggest deal, as you mentioned, ever. And we are small fry when it comes to worldwide stuff. So just some examples from around the globe. So in baseball, Shohei Ohtani, $700 million. This is all US dollars over 10 years with the LA Dodgers, moving across from the LA Angels. So that's like coming from Collingwood to Melbourne for this deal.
Wild.
Juan Soto, he signed one at the end of last year for $765 million over 15 years for the New York Mets. He was playing for the New York Yankees. And one of the reasons he swapped is because the Mets offered to buy him a penthouse apartment as well, on top of the $800 million. The NFL, Patrick Mahomes, $450 million over 10 years at Kansas City. Formula One, Max Verstappen, $330 million over 6 years. This is all crazy money.
It's just like money that you wouldn't know what to do with.
I don't think that, there wouldn't be enough money currently being handed around the world. Like, it's obviously like physical cash.
Yeah.
And the two biggest ones per year are obviously in European football. Lionel Messi, when he was at Barcelona, his last 4 years, he earned $168 million US per year. And then Cristiano Ronaldo, $215 million per year. So it brings Keziah's deal into a bit of relevance, but it's still a huge deal. But more importantly, what it was signed over, Liv.
Yeah, this gets us going, doesn't it?
So AFL.com.au have told us that Demons List boss Tim Lamb, keep that in mind, Tim Lamb, signed the deal or got the deal done with Keziah's manager at a Fremantle establishment over lamb shanks.
The goat meal.
You love lamb shanks.
I love lamb shanks. And it's, if I was cooking dinner for someone I wanted to impress, lamb shanks. A couple of weeks ago, went to mum and dad's house for dinner and my brother and sister weren't going to be there. So
you put in a request?
Mum wanted to make something she knew I would like, lamb shanks.
Right.
Like, it's just a
and
meal.
And now are you going couscous or mash?
No, mash and broccolini. Got to be broccolini.
It doesn't get enough love, I don't think, broccolini.
Oh, good.
Because broccoli is so thick that often like it's tough to get through. But broccolini is the right size.
No, but I find that broccoli gets like softer when you steam it, whereas broccolini has a nice like hot. Yeah. I had the best broccolini I've ever had in my life on Friday night.
Yeah.
I went to this restaurant in Sydney called Joji, and it's this really cool like Japanese, it almost felt like a wine bar, but it was a Japanese restaurant. And they had like a DJ playing, and they brought out this broccolini that was, I don't even know what it was on, but like Japanese sauces.
Yeah.
Best broccolini I've ever eaten.
There you go, Joji. But I had a look at the menu. So afl.com.au, you know, they mentioned Benny's Bar in Fremantle. So the lamb shanks weren't currently on the menu. I found an Instagram post from 2023.
So have they gone off the menu?
I think they've gone off the menu.
Because they know that lamb
I think they're
shanks,
sitting in a private room.
Yeah.
Because they've also ordered a bottle of wine, it said, red wine. Now, I'm thinking they ordered the $154 Shiraz from Yelland and Pabst Greenock in the Barossa, right?
Surely you go for a local wine. If you're spending that much money on
these people, they're throwing $13 million at a young man, 24-year-old. I don't think they're caring about where they're getting their wine from.
Oh, Margaret River?
Maybe. Well, there's obviously, as you mentioned, there's plenty of wineries around there. But it got me thinking, where is netball in the grand scheme of things?
Exactly.
Now, there's a situation at the Vixens at the moment. Simone McInnes is out. Sherelle has a big job on her hands. Where would you – now, one, Sherelle's probably not taking them for lamb shanks. She's probably going coffee and cake.
I think Sherelle would like a lamb shank.
Do you reckon she's tapping the Netball Vic credit card or paying out of her own pocket?
I think it'd be like a first round interview would be a coffee at the local.
Coffee, yeah.
And then possibly they look to wine and dine further down the track.
Where would you suggest to Sherelle that she take some prospective buyers?
Oh, so many places. If you try and give them a taste of Melbourne, I'm going straight to Union House Steak Night.
Yeah. A lot of buzz as well. You could talk openly.
Yeah. But then you'd probably be seen there.
But you want to be in a public space as well.
Yeah. Maybe you're just doing coffee.
I think coffee and cake. It could be at Faraday's Cage in Fitzroy. It could be at the State Netball Hockey Centre courtside kiosk.
Yeah.
A couple of dimmies, maybe a Fanta out of the fridge. Let's talk business. Let's talk shop. But look, these are the questions we need asked. What is the biggest contract in netball at the moment?
Yeah. It'd have to be the Vixens coaching gig.
Yeah, well, it's the only one that's open. And where are you taking them? Where's Sherelle taking them? That's big. Is she going to Benny's Bar, getting the lamb shanks? I don't think so.
I reckon she's going to Entrecote.
Entrecote? Oh, yeah. Entrecote.
I think Entrecote.
More D's chat. She's going to go fine dining.
Yeah,
but I wonder what they're ordering. It's not the $154 bottle.
The steak and frites with the sauce. I've actually never been there. I just see it everywhere.
You just know,
on
just
Instagram.
Known about it.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. I'm looking forward to it. Now, Liv, speaking of big contracts, we've got to check in with our friend over in the Caribbean, HK. She sent us a video from Jamaica. Here's how HK is going across the pond.
Good evening from Jamaica. Yes, I've made it across. Thank you so much for all the love and support. I am thrilled to be here. I'm having the best time. There is so much I have to fill you in on. So during the day, I'm going to walk you through all of the trophies that are behind me at Netball Jamaica House because it is the biggest shrine to the Sunshine Girls, and I absolutely love all the details. There are even some posters of some Australians, which I think you'll find particularly fun. I have already had my first training session with my team yesterday, the Manchester Spurs, and it was really special because we actually train on the same court that Latanya Wilson played on as a high schooler. So crazy to see where she grew up, where she learnt netball, and we even FaceTimed her after training, which just felt like a full circle moment. And especially because her match against the Firebirds, we were sitting down at Netball Jamaica House and watching it. So all the under 21 Sunshine Girls and some of the senior Sunshine Girls were watching, and to see their reactions to her 9 games was just epic. She is such a rock star here, such a celebrity, and means so much to everyone. So yeah, that was a definite highlight. Watching my first netball tournament here, also a huge highlight. Makes me chuckle that no matter where you are in the world, netball has the same warm-up. Everyone does their run-throughs. Everyone does a bit of tram track netball, some straight line running, straight line ball work. So I had to chuckle at that. Although, Matt, I think we actually made an error with our pyramid ranking of canteen items because the number 1 food choice here, pork tail soup. Yep, every spectator had a little cup, kept everyone warm, so move aside dim sims, pork tail soup up the top. Little kids still opted for lollies though, which made me chuckle. Other cool things I've done is watch some men's netball. these guys, they are so passionate about the sport. I think everyone is, to be honest. I've never seen so much love for netball in one country. It is really, really cool. I think my other favourite bit was that it took all of one day to start exchanging some cheeky words in patois and English. So just know that if you hear some Jamaicans now rolling out champion and champ, specifically we watched Love Island USA late at night, and to hear the girls start calling some of the fellas, oh, come on, champ, just made me laugh. So I'm trying to bring a bit of an Aussie flavour over here, but yeah, I'm definitely learning more about all of the good things about Jamaica. So I'll keep filling you in. My season starts in, maybe 2 weeks. So I'll keep training. Have a fun episode today, gang. And I can't wait to speak soon.
There we go.
Wow.
That's HK's update. What an update.
She's thriving over there.
She is thriving over there. Just a couple of things we noted there, Liv. I don't know if you noticed. That was shot.
In a sauna?
Well, you say sauna. I think it's around a campfire. You can hear the mosquitoes in the background absolutely going hammer and tong. I can only assume that the rest of her teammates are asleep.
They must be.
Well, they're not even teammates, housemates at Netball Jamaica House.
Well, you know what? It made me wonder, because it's Netball Jamaica House. Would she be living with her opponents?
I believe so. That's what I mean. It's a Big Brother house.
Yeah.
It's an absolute Big Brother house.
I think we need to ask her for if she's planning for any tactics to get under their skin.
I want to know what they get up to.
Yeah.
Now that was a good sort of entry level video, isn't it? But we want to know a bit more off court. You're in Jamaica, you're in the Caribbean, you've got to get out and about.
I want to see what the pubs are like on a Saturday night.
I don't know if they call them pubs, but I know what you mean. Just a couple of things. So playing on the same court as your heroes. Now, obviously it's massive because they pointed it out, but you might have played on the same court as some of your heroes live.
I feel like you and Matt Rao.
Exactly. We've both played at Canterbury Sports Ground. It's identical where legends are made. That would have happened everywhere. The fact there, she mentioned Love Island.
Tell you what is so funny, you forget how even where she was saying that they were all sitting around watching the Super Netball, it truly is a global product.
Yeah, you forget.
You forget that we're not the only ones that sit around and watch Love Island and Super Netball.
Exactly. But do you think, did you have HK pegged as a Love Island fan?
No.
No. And to be honest, I don't think she still is. I think someone else has got control of the remote.
I think she's choosing to watch Love Island because it might buy her a few friends.
Yeah.
I think given that we had to tell her who Jacob Elordi was.
Yeah, it's a good point. That's a good point. Her knowledge of pop culture is pretty poor. She'll admit that herself. So maybe it's a good way. She mentioned that she's already given them a couple of Australian words. They got away with champ there. It could have gone a lot worse. There's a lot of Australian words that we use for blokes on Love Island that aren't just champ. But I wonder if she'll be using any Jamaican ones on the way back. Do you reckon?
Oh, I hope so.
You reckon she'll come back cornrows? Just bomber clat coming out of there?
Yeah. We need weekly updates from Han.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, she looks like she's loving it. So still a couple of weeks before the season starts, so plenty to do off the court as well as on the court.
It must be a pretty short season, hey?
Of course, we're still looking for it on social media. If anyone knows how to find it, that would be really handy. Always good to hear from Hannah. But we're getting into her favourite segment now. We're going to get into some netty news. Okay, now, Liv, this netty news is a big segment. You've obviously sat behind the glass. Now, it's getting to the end of the podcast, so maybe your interest is waned usually, but now you're in the hot seat. You've got to pay attention. But we're going to start with the Giants and the Lightning. Now, my Lightning, I said they wouldn't lose a game all year, and it's turned to shit.
They've done it. This has to be the defeat of the season. No one saw it coming.
2 in a row, the Giants. So they beat the Thunderbirds last week, and they've beaten them before. And then this is the first time they've won 2 in a row for almost 2 years or something like that. And it's quickly on the Lightning. It's real nervous, squeaky bum time for the Lightning now because they played the rest of the top 5, and they're usually not that crash hot against them. So they could actually miss the finals.
And especially when we've got the Vixens on a bit of a winning streak, and they've got something to prove. Thunderbirds as well. So the Lightning spot in the top 4 could be.
Oh, it's under threat.
Well,
it's under threat. But you want to talk about the Giants. They've improved out of sight. Well, they've been improving. I've been a big advocate for them the last month. But since Casey Kapua has come on board, they've won 2 from 3.
I hate to point out the obvious, but it has to be her. And it did make me wonder. We were chatting about this yesterday. Do you think there's any other sport where one player coming in or going out of the team can have such an impact on the game?
Probably not. Maybe basketball, maybe. But even then, it's maybe because of the depth of talent. But probably there's obviously examples just in this season. So Janelle didn't play the first 2 games. Fever lost. They were second bottom. Lost to the Firebirds by 10 goals. Haven't lost since the Fever, since she's returned. Shamira, Thunderbirds haven't been as bad, but they've sort of wobbled. And then obviously here, Kapoor's come in, and even though she hasn't dominated, she's obviously lifted others around. I'd say it's probably up there as one of the few sports where one person can have a really, really big effect.
Yeah, which is kind of wild given that it is also the ultimate team sport, right? Like,
yeah, it is weird that you can't run with the ball, but one person can pretty much change a whole game, a whole season for you.
Yeah.
But no, it's really interesting. Maddie Hay was really good. She had 54 feeds. She's gone under the radar a little bit this year because everyone's got around Hope White, who's a young, energetic ball of fun.
I tell you what else I'm loving. I think with Casey Kapoor, Erin O'Brien and Amy Sligo are both playing really well with her. So I think it was a really good call to bring her across the ditch.
Yeah, obviously just a bit of – she steered the ship from back there at goalkeeper and it's allowed Erin O'Brien and Sligo to obviously learn from her but play with a bit more freedom. But, yeah, just a couple of things for me. Obviously, we've just mentioned that the Lightning got an incredibly tough run, could miss finals if they don't win at least 2 games. But they like the camera shot. Julie Fitzgerald, it's iconic for me, is obviously she's quite short, Julie. She's quite short. And the cameras they have on the benches are all set quite low to go over the coaches, get their reactions. And there's nothing more iconic than when something goes well or if the Giants win and Julie just does her little clap, little grandma clap. I just think you couldn't find a person in the world who doesn't smile when they see Julie Fitzgerald laugh like that. So I'm happy for Julie. The Giants could end up winning 5 or 6 games. Yeah,
it could be interesting. Hey, who do you see taking that 4th spot?
Oh, obviously not. I think the Giants have left it too late. I reckon the Lightning could miss. They've got to play off the top of my head. I think they have to play the rest of the top 5. And we had a stat a couple of weeks ago that they've not beaten anyone in the top 4 in the last 2 years.
Really?
So it's not looking crash hot for them. But if they do make it, they will have beaten some good teams. So look, you'd rather be the Lightning than the Giants at the moment, but plenty to love about the Giants. And for those people who, obviously, throughout the year, I've said that the Giants need to just play Matisse and not Joe. Joe Harden took the piss again, so I apologise to Joe. Some more corrections. Speaking of the fever, that the Lightning are going to have to play either this week or next week. They beat the Mavs 8 in a row. They got out to an 11-goal lead very early, just put the Stonic into cruise control after that and just got home, won by 6 goals. Just a couple of things before we get on to our main talking point from this game. Both teams are in the grand final for the SN reserves. So the Fever are on track to try and do a double there. But for the Mavs, it's good news that the Twos are in the big dance.
Yeah.
And it's got me thinking about local sport, especially footy netball clubs, is often at this time of the year, one team's not going to make the finals and another team, let's say, the A's aren't going crash hot, but the B's, they're asleep for finals. Do you drop people down the grades to make sure they qualify? Eleanor Carbone, could she come back for the weekend's grand final? Lauren Parkinson is a chance. Do the Mavs drop a couple players to make sure they get some silverware?
I don't know. It's an interesting one, isn't it? I think they should, win
some silverware.
Yeah, and they're coming back from injury. So
well, those two could definitely play, but do you reckon you could – who's the biggest name player the Mavs could drop without anyone batting an eyelid?
I'd like to see Cardwell dropped.
Well, she's not even playing.
I know, but I just would like to – I think it would be funny to see this superstar
Imagine
from the UK.
Shimona. So Shimona, we can't make the finals. Go down, win the Twos a flag, win a Rezzies flag.
Well, there was a world where that would have happened.
That would have happened. Yeah. It might have happened last year. But imagine you're the Fever reserves.
Yeah, ahead of
You've won every game to get the grand final and you're rolling. The Mavs are basically playing their Super Netball team.
Yeah, but don't know if it's good sportsmanship.
Well, who cares about sportsmanship? We're all about winning.
Yeah,
it's the business of winning. Now, the Fever are obviously winning a lot of games at the moment and I think it's getting into their head. I think they're getting ahead of themselves, Liv. They've lost touch with the common man. Now, again, we both admitted before that we're not really Perth people.
No.
But they put up a video on their socials. Now, the Fever socials are another discussion. There's all sorts of chaos going on over there. They're cooking pork. They're heading to the shops in their dresses. But they did something about the price of their coffee, right? And how much they would pay. If they were desperate, how much would you pay for a coffee? Now, straight off the bat, Liv Wilkinson goes $10 without blinking an eye. And I just think, you've lost me. I cannot relate to any of those players, training partners alike, that we're talking double digits for a coffee. That's ridiculous.
But they're high-performance athletes, right? They would be reliant on coffee at times.
I understand the reliance, but surely there's a line. And we know, we were just discussing money earlier on the show, we know super netballers aren't paid big dollars. You can't be throwing away $10, $20 for a coffee.
But also, don't forget that the Fever would be having to play away from home a lot. So they would be battling that time difference.
So you're saying their constant jet lag means that they're willing to pay anything for a coffee?
I think so, yeah.
I don't think so. Look, our new producer, Producer X, has just dropped a note. Producer X has dropped a note that Nespresso should sponsor them. They've got Lindley.
good
They've got
morning.
Lindley Valley pork. I don't see the players running around with pork tail soup,
Yeah.
HK style.
That's like old school Super Netball when they used to travel with a microwave so that they could make themselves meals.
Yeah, great chat. But yeah, Nespresso should sponsor them.
Yeah, they should. But $10, that's
$10 is ridiculous.
I actually think it's okay.
No, it's what?
Well,
You would pay $10 for a coffee.
I've got a story. I wouldn't, but my friend Eve, I asked her to send a voice memo, but she's living in London, time differences,
She's got
didn't
bigger
quite
fish
work
to
for me.
fry.
Bigger fish to fry. She was on her way back from a work trip, I think last year, and I believe she was coming back from Hawaii, and she went and ordered a coffee and didn't realize like the conversion rates, and it came in some fancy cup, and it was this like massive coffee. It cost her about $50 somehow, I think. And
But that's user error.
oh, it is a little bit, yeah. But the best part is then she got to security and she had to pour it out.
Can't get on the plane. That's disappointing.
How bad's that?
$50 for not drinking a coffee. So she's given $50 away at the airport.
I think it was somewhere between $30 and $50.
The airport is a hellhole for buying stuff because they've got you. Like you can't. They can just charge whatever they want.
When I was coming back from Sydney on Saturday, I wanted to grab some sushi on the way home.
You love sushi.
Thinking, I'll have a quick meal, less than $10, kind of.
Well, not at the airport.
Well, exactly. $6.50 for one sushi roll.
It's ridiculous.
I was like, nah.
And it's at the airport too, so you're not really confident. You're not going for you're not going for uncooked salmon.
No.
You got to go cooked tuna at the airport.
Yeah, $6.50 and it's been sitting there for 3 weeks.
Anyway, Nespresso, the Fever, they should be thinking about that. I also think the players just need to take a breath. You've gotten ahead of yourself. You're playing very good netball, but $10, you've lost it. You're out of touch. I'm disappointed with them. They're out of play. Moving on, the Thunderbirds played the Firebirds. This is about the only game that sort of actually, the other game obviously went to script, but this one, Thunderbirds won by 7. The Firebirds, as they do every game, they look like they might win. They get it back to 1, and then they go missing. Last quarter fade out. It means the Thunderbirds are still alive. They're still a game out of the 4, but they're still alive in terms of going for a three-peat. Latanya Wilson is very good at netball. That's a pretty hot take for you, Liv.
Hot take.
Yeah, I know you don't watch every minute of the netball. I'm just letting you know she's good at netball.
You've blown my cover.
HK's friend, a close friend of the show, Latanya Wilson. I'm sure it would have been going off at Netball Jamaica House when she was pulling in all those numbers.
I might not watch every minute of the netball, but I did have a little look into some of the stats behind this game. I was a little bit interested, and I noticed that the Firebirds and Thunderbirds both only had 69% and 65% goals from centre pass, which seems kind of low. Like I was looking at the Swifts and Vixens game, and it was like sitting around 79%.
Yeah, we'd need an average for the league, wouldn't
which
we?
made me wonder. They'd be looking at that stat. Do you think they would go back to training and take it real old school and just be doing centre pass set plays?
What do they do for the Blue Balls? Do you guys do much centre pass set plays?
Nah, bro. Like
just throw it to whoever's free.
The ball goes out in the centre third, and people don't even know that like the wing defence needs to take it. Or it goes out in the goal third, and the goalkeeper. It's like no, the goalkeeper needs to take it.
No, that is a good stat because as a kid, again watching that ball, I just assumed you scored from every centre pass. Like how do you stuff it up?
Yeah, well, I think it's basic. Sort of tactics that you.
What's the lowest do you reckon anyone's ever scored? Like that rate's ever got?
I don't know. We should find out.
Yeah, I reckon if you're like 65 seems low because that's pretty much every third one you're turning over. Yeah, well, it's a good stat, and again, it looks like the Thunderbirds probably converted more of their gains, obviously turnovers. Then, if it's quite a close centre pass, they probably had more turnovers in general play. But just one thing, the Firebirds obviously they've lost 8 in a row. I think it is now.
Yes,
it's not going well since the first 2, good. And they've brought in the big dogs.
They have.
Stacey Marinkovic, Diamond's coach. She is based in the Sunshine States, but they've got her down to training to help out.
Damage control?
Yeah, I think so. She's seen enough. She said, I've got to go down and help these people out. Didn't work on the weekend, but hopefully for their sake, it works in the future and they can get work. Maybe she'll go down and do some centre pass stuff.
Well, perhaps. They need it.
Maybe. The last game of the round was the Vixens and the Swifts. It wasn't the last in order. It's the last on our run sheet. It was a thrilling game. Packed out John Cain Arena. They sold it out again. They were all over them for the first 55 minutes, the Vixens. And then Helen Housby did what Helen Housby does. She went beast mode. 4 super shots in a row. Got the game back to 2, the difference, because the Vixens were just taking the 1. There was a Joe Weston Howell ball, which was to the chagrin of the fans there. Joe was a bit befuddled as to how she could possibly have held the ball too long. And Sophie Fawns, back for her first game of the year, took it upon herself to have the tying shot and missed. I felt bad for her because first game of the year and she's just thrown out there and expected to win them the game is a bit hard on her. But look, as you mentioned on top, the Vixens are starting to look good.
They are. And I tell you what I love to see with the Vixens. I love it when Jo does her big wind-ups. She did a couple of them
She had two
in that
feeds,
game.
yeah.
2 feeds. And I saw Simone McInnes in the presser was sort of not happy with it, but it worked out for her. So I was.
It's a very distinctive throw, isn't it?
It is. And I just love it because it feels like the chaotic nature of social netball.
Yeah. She does it all the time, even on short passes.
Yeah.
Like some players will go the overhead for distance.
Yeah.
I think she's the only person who consistently goes
shoulder pass.
Yeah. And maybe she's got a dodgy shoulder like you.
Yeah.
She does strap it up occasionally.
Yeah, interesting.
But even around the court, she doesn't go the traditional chest pass often.
Yeah.
Which maybe it's a, gap in her knowledge. Maybe she wasn't taught it at Net Set Go. Did she miss that session?
I don't know if Net Set Go was around back in the day, but.
Well, it would have been called Netter or something like that.
Yeah, it was.
Is that what did you do Netter?
Netter. Yeah.
Did they teach you proper passing technique?
Oh, I can't really remember.
No, evidently not.
The way that I pass now, probably not.
Probably not.
But I did also notice that I was looking at the stats again and the Vixens, I love the stats. The Vixens really capitalised more on the Swifts' mistakes, which I think where they won the game. So they had 7 goals from gains and 9 from turnovers, which compared to the Swifts, they only had 3 goals from gains and 7 from turnovers. So I think that the Vixens probably just got in the Swifts' head.
Yeah, it looked like it. They were honestly rattled. They've been rattled the last couple of weeks, the Swifts.
Yeah.
Where Hannah and I have obviously talked about it, that it looks like early on people couldn't figure out how to play Grace, and whether they've figured it out or the Swifts are just looks like Paige is having to do a lot by herself. So Verity came in to replace Maddie Proud and did well at the start of the year, but recently, and to be fair, HK, to her credit, over there in Jamaica, she did mention probably about a month ago that she'd noticed that the Swifts were having to rotate through wing attack a lot and they hadn't found the proper combination.
Yeah.
And you can tell a couple of times they just pass it and Grace isn't expecting it or she's in a different position. They've just bombed it to her and it's gone out of court. And once or twice that happens, but it's happening a lot for a team that's on top of the ladder. So, there was a little bit of mental they were a bit rattled. You're correct there.
Yeah. You know what Ham would be saying if she was sitting here?
Yeah, HK. Yeah.
It's what was the curse?
Oh, the TGC, the Team Girls Cup curse. The Team Girls Cup curse. Good callback, producer Liv.
I think it's come back around.
It might be. Well, it's not looking good. It looks like the Fever might run away with it. So we're going to get into our tips. Now, you wanted to just say quickly that you're refusing to have it like a relay.
Yeah.
You want to start from 0 all.
I think scratch the scores.
Right. Well, I did run away with it. I left HK in my dust and tipped away. So we're starting from 0 all.
That was pure luck.
Well, hey, luck's a fortune.
Yeah.
Tips. So some big games this week. Fever and Thunderbirds. Friday night netball over in Perth.
How good?
RAC Arena. Pack it out. The Green Girls. Who are you tipping here? Usually some good games.
I'd love to see the T-Birds upset the Fever at home.
And you're going to back them in?
Yeah.
There you go. Right off the start. Producer
As
Liv.
I said, 7 weeks, so I can say whatever I want and then run away.
No strings attached. I'm going to stick with the Fever because they are playing some pretty ruthless netball at the moment. Lightning and Vixens, this is a huge game because the Lightning have a better percentage, so it's a bit of a double sort of edged sword for them. If they can win both, it really pushes the Vixens back. But the Vixens are in much better form and the Lightning haven't beaten a top 4 side in 2 years. So I'm personally going to tip the Vixens.
Yeah, I'm going the Vixens as well. I think this is do or die, as they say.
Do or die.
And I just love an underdog. I love a good story, and so I'd love to see the Vixens have a bit of a win home on the way. A win home?
On the run home.
I'd love to see that, yeah.
Swifts and Giants. This few weeks back, this was Swifts by how much? Swifts have lost 2 in a row now, and the Giants have won 2 in a row. Bit of a New South Wales derby with a bit of a different feel to it. Are you ballsy enough to tip the Giants?
I'm thinking about it.
You do love an underdog.
I just said it. I love an underdog. I think I've got to go the Swifts, though. I think they'll use this as a game to sort of recalibrate.
Well, they've got to bounce back. They lose the next one, it'll be panic stations. And finally, to round off the action, we've got the Firebirds and the Mavericks, the Spoon Bowl. Who are you tipping here? Last chance to win pretty much to win. I think they both play the Giants to come, but the Giants look way too good at the moment for those two teams. So who are you tipping?
I'm going the Mavs.
Now, I would usually go the Mavs, but if we think they're going to drop some players to win the reserves.
Oh, true. I'm going the Mavs.
I agree. I'm going to go with the Mavericks. So there you have it. Some big calls from not producer Liv, temporary replacement host Liv.
Exactly.
Liv. Yeah, you've one episode done. You're in the can. One down, a few to go. No strings attached, as you said. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had a great time.
Thanks for having me.
A bit different in front of the glass, in front of the cameras. Of course, as per usual, remember to rate and review the podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Get involved on Instagram and TikTok. And, of course, backcourtdms@gmail.com. We want to hear how you're going on the weekend. If you've got any gripes about social netball like Liv, or if you've been paid a lot of money to play sport like Keziah Pickett. But until next time, that's been The Backcourt.